Hello and welcome everybody back to another episode of From the Heart. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be kind of branching out into a new format. As somebody who's covered horror on this channel for so long through so many graphic novels and comic books, I want to try and branch out to a few other mediums just to kind of break things up a little bit. And that is exactly what we'll be doing today. And I'm really excited to get back into it. It's something that I've done in the past, and it's something that I've not done in a very long while, is actually sit down and write a little bit of a video essay about something that I really enjoyed. And what we'll be covering today is a game called Mouthwashing, a very interesting experience I had, and one of the most horrific sci-fi stories that I think I've ever really, sat down and enjoyed. It's a game that made me feel very uneasy, and something that I think most horror fans should go out and experience for themselves. It's really cheap, it's a relatively short game, and overall, I think it's something that most of the people on this channel will probably mostly enjoy. It's very important that you sit down and play this thing with headphones on, maybe even turn the lights off. Just get ready to immerse yourself, because this is an incredibly immersive game, and something that I just found to be extremely awesome. But anyways, everybody, I'm going to kind of leave this here, and I hope you all enjoy, and I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments, as well as possibly, what you might like to see next. But anyways, everybody, it's been a little bit, I'm feeling a little bit rusty, but let's get right back into it. And once again, thank you all for watching so much. Space, an endless frontier of possibilities and realities unseen. A void where just about anything can be made possible. But outside of our humanity's fascination with the deep black and all of its incredibly mysterious leadings lies a far darker, far scarier path to be found. And after reading things like Nameless, an amazing graphic novel by Grant Morrison, and an incredibly twisted idea of what God could be, or just experiencing the terrifying world of Dead Space for the first time, among countless other fantastic stories like Sentient by Jeff Lemire, it's all led me to one of my favorite genres in all of writing. Sci-fi horror, something that almost always ends up feeling very wrong and very outside of the box, and yet for some reason oddly beautiful. And something recently has given me the pleasure of this feeling once again. A game that I found randomly on Steam, and a game that I went in completely blind outside of having watched the trailer. And I must say that if you're considering playing the topic of this video, I would tune out now and do the exact same as I did. Because there's something about playing, watching, and reading something with no idea of what's to come that always makes it that much more breathtaking and impactful when the climax or twist finally comes to fruition. The game I'm referring to is called Mouthwashing, by a small dev team that goes by the name of Wrong Organ, a company I've never heard of, but one that I'll surely be keeping my eye on from here on out, because what I've found in Mouthwashing is something I haven't felt in a while when it comes to gaming. As most of you know, and for the ones who don't, I've been covering comics and graphic novels and books on this channel pretty much since its inception, outside of a few streams and let's plays sprinkled in between. But the point is, it's been a good long while since I played a game from start to finish without forcing myself to. And while Mouthwashing is a very short game, with my playthrough only being about 3 hours with the occasional break here and there in between, it was a game that I thoroughly enjoyed. A game that made me feel incredibly dirty, optimistic, horrified, and repulsed, and all at the same time thoroughly impressed with its overall telling of its story, as well as its ability to convey all these emotions with its liminal graphic style and mechanics. Mouthwashing is a game that's set in space aboard the Pony Express Tulpar. With a crew of 5, you'll be making your way to a new system to deliver an unknown product that will be unveiled later on in the game to a very jarring effect. The interior of the ship is very sterile. Green painted metal hulls, food replicating machines to produce very generic ideas and semblances of nourishment, and TV screens to simulate an outside view, be it a sunset, the stars of the universe, or anything that might be needed to help its crew make its journey on Madden. But along the way is an idea of wanting to better themselves, to right their past wrongs, and to become something more than just lonely deep space haulers. The game starts you in the cockpit, looking at various screens and throttles as a message appears on the main monitor, urging you to take over control and veer left of an oncoming asteroid. But soon enough, you'll find the only option here is to grab the captain's key, engage the manual steering, and crash straight into the alien object before you, and thus starting you on your journey of isolation aboard the Pony Express Tulpar. And this kind of action will be taken throughout the entire game. A lot of Mouthwashing puts you in these positions, making you do things that just feel wrong, evil, and gross. Whether it's helping the crew or just trying to get a bite to eat, Mouthwashing has a very dark and sinister undertone that cannot be ignored. Suddenly you cut to a few days after the interior of the ship is completely changed. Red light showers down over the metal grating, a sort of foam is blocking certain corridors, and everybody's mood has drastically changed as you realize you most likely won't be escaping the confines of this suddenly decrepit ship. Mouthwashing does a fantastic job at setting up its atmosphere and story. Its graphic style, while not entirely unique, especially to any YouTube Let's Player browsing sites like itch.io, will have seen this iteration many times, but what Mouthwashing manages to do with it is very well done. It adds a layer of uncanniness to the game, and watching and talking to the crew feels very well done as you engage in conversations of past lives, plans moving forward, and a tension that only builds further and further throughout the runtime of this journey. The characters you'll meet and the two you'll be playing as back and forth are as listed. Captain Curly, head of the ship and a man that wants more out of his life even if it means a demotion, cut in pay, or the loss of respect by his fellow crew members. And ultimately one of the most tragic characters of this whole game, being completely burned from head to toe from the crash, wrapped in bandages, and unable to move no matter what's being done or said to him through the game. Captain Curly stands to be one of the most upsetting interactions in Mouthwashing, constantly crying and groaning from the pain of his new existence, but luckily, he has a friend. Co-pilot Jimmy, a man who also wants better for himself, but finds himself lost in frustration and jealousy of Captain Curly, as well as other things that trouble him and lead him to a path of chaos, and violence, and redemption. A man that believes that what he is doing can be undone, and that a man's worst day can't define him for the rest of them. This you'll be playing for the majority of the game, and here we'll find a very sinister blending of hero and villain, as you run around the tulpar trying to figure out how to save everyone, or at the very least keep them from breaking down or attacking each other. Next up we have Anya, the only medic aboard the tulpar, and the one that will be tasked with feeding Captain Curly's pain medication while straight in space. A woman who has a deep fear of the noises produced by this man, and an even more unsettling truth that won't be shared with the fellow crewmates until later on in the journey. Mechanic Swansea, the head engineer of the vessel, and an ex-alcoholic with a bad temperament. A character I was never really sure if he meant ill or not. A man of strange conviction and growing hatred of his coworkers, and someone who is hiding things from the rest during this time of need. But Swansea throughout the game has a lot to share, and definitely some of the more memorable moments of this game will involve him, as well as some of the more impressive set pieces. And last but not least, Daisuke, Swansea's new intern and a first-timer of deep space travel. Someone with a heart of gold, somebody who hasn't been tainted by the growing pains and mistakes that come with age. Someone that can shed a little light into this new dark world our troubled characters are forced to live in. The characters of Mouthwashing were extremely well written, and while I don't want to spoil the main plot of the story to you and urge you to play for yourself, I will say that this is a story I could very much be seen picking up by the likes of A24, as its premise and overall feeling is something very special. Very visceral and trippy and motivating all at the same time. Some places and scenarios reminded me a lot of the movie Climax, one of the most disturbing movies I think I've seen of 2025 yet so far, but also bring me thoughts of Event Horizon, or even 2001: A Space Odyssey. Mouthwashing will make you feel the isolation of space, as well as the terror of the unknown and the growing fear of what your surrounding patrons might do or become with time. Swansea seems to be constantly pushing everyone's buttons, all while holding the only weapon aboard the tulpar. And Anya seems to be harboring a secret that she can't seem to tell anyone, and her strange relationship with co-pilot Jimmy always left me feeling a little agitated and worried for everybody's mental stability. Daisuke never seems to take this situation too seriously, and doesn't seem to know when to deem a situation too dangerous. After the crash of the ship, you'll mostly be playing as co-pilot Jimmy as you try and figure out ways to get behind the foamed over doors. An idea that I thought was really interesting, and maybe even practical. Once the ship struck the asteroid, an emergency system kicks on and deploys a layer of hardened foam to seal any fractures and broken seals in the hull, and avoiding the total implosion of the ship to begin with. But what lies beyond all these barriers only ever leads to even more questions, as well as the building grief that maybe there isn't even a way to fix it, or even escape away from this corporate vessel. Along your journeys as Jimmy, you'll be bringing medications to Captain Curly as his body has been completely decimated by the crash. And this was one of the parts of the game that was very heartbreaking, very unsettling, as the sound design of Mouthwashing was something a little too real, forcing open Curly's mouth to give him his medication and hearing him choke and cry at the pain of such a simple task. The soundtrack of Mouthwashing is also something I absolutely loved. As somebody who's very much into ambient scores and soundtracks, especially when I'm reading, it'll definitely be one I'll be adding to my reading list. list. Very apt for space travel, and others really hitting home with a feeling that something extremely wrong is right around the corner. All this layered with the events that would come towards the end of the game will be something I don't think I'll be forgetting anytime soon. Mouthwashing does a great job in not relying on jump scares to get you to feel unsafe or scared, and does this all with really amazing storytelling along with its very trippy and disorienting visuals. For a game that looks so simple, so many of the set pieces felt very cinematic and well put together, putting you in situations where I generally felt in danger. Being chased or just waiting to see what was upstairs or through a door, or what would happen if we tried out a certain idea before somebody would notice. It always felt like a life or death situation, and the final snapping of the straw, and the action that would lead somebody to insanity or the ending of their very own life. And towards the end of Mouthwashing, this feeling was constant after so many bad situations and results. Every action just felt bad, and something that would only lead the crew to even more pain, shame, and angst. But what really sold me was the ending of this game, the end of the line, as someone finally is able to maybe escape with their life. Some of the set pieces towards the back of Mouthwashing had me flinching and cringing at the prospect of just what I was doing, never letting up on new things to show me or bring me to places that I never thought I'd go. Every time I was able to pick up an item, I was worried about what its use would be, and the sound of transistors popping or the wet sounds of wounds opening will forever haunt me. But what really stands out towards the end are the emotional dialogues had between Curly and co-pilot Jimmy, showing you the stars and a hope for what could be for the rest of this crew, an understanding of what has been happening aboard the Tulpar, and a final end of their tragic journey. Wrong Organ really knocked this one out of the park, and it's something I urge any horror fan to play for themselves. And while this game is mostly a walking simulator, something that I personally love as long as it has a great story to go along with it, like Firewatch or What Remains of Edith Finch, or even The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, I think it earns its place as a potential cult classic in the making in the genre. An experience to be had, and if Markiplier's out there making movies on these types of weird and uniquely horrific games, I can only hope that he might take a swing at Mouthwashing. Because there's something so wonderful about these really small indie titles, these homebrews that can be found on itch.io. Games made with the sole purpose of telling a truly strange and unsettling story, and even if there's 1,000 bad ones to every great one, it's a weird subgenre that I've adored since 2014. Games like The Static Speaks My Name, or Frambo, or even Presentable Liberty if anybody remembers that one. Overall, I loved Mouthwashing, and I'll be seeking out more titles like it when I browse these strange websites or Steam. After all, the reason I love books and comic books is because it cuts right to the point, the story, and these games, while lacking mechanics and your day-to-day gaming staples, they're able to give me exactly what I want out of them. So for anybody who maybe had their eyes on this game, I highly recommend it, especially for the price. But anyways, everybody, this is the ending of the video. I just want to reiterate how awesome I thought Mouthwashing was. It was a game that grossed me out. It's a game that tantalized all those things I've been looking for whenever I'm looking for something good to read or a game to play or even a movie to watch. And it's something I think I'm going to be remembering for a very long time when it comes to these really unique and weird kind of Unity engine games. And it's something that I very much would like you all to play. But outside of this, everybody, this is kind of a new format style for this channel, and it's something I had a lot of fun, and it's something that even after editing everything in here, I think I can improve on many different ways, and I would like to kind of seek out a few other, maybe games and things like that I can kind of do these scripted video essay review kind of deals, and I think they can get better as I go along. I think I need to maybe make it a little more personal, maybe add a little more parts of me sitting here in the From the Heart room and everything, and just kind of discussing the things that I liked about it. But most importantly, I would love to hear your opinion and what you think. If you even want this kind of video on this channel, this is just kind of something fun for me to do, to kind of do something new here, and it's something that I do really enjoy. So let me know what you all think down in the comments, maybe some other things you'd like to see me cover, and most importantly, thank you all so much for your time and for watching this video. And I'll see you all on the next episode of From the Heart. Have an amazing day. I gotta slam something on the chair.